Hey, everybody. Welcome to the GMI Rocket Show. I'm your host, Roman Zelichenko, and today is episode number 128. I'm a former immigration attorney turned entrepreneur. I am the co founder of Laborless, an immigration tech startup that automates H-1B visa compliance, and also the founder of GMI Rocket, a digital marketing agency for the immigration mobility space, and of course, which brings you this show, the GMI Rocket Show. Our guest today is a young entrepreneur from Brazil who has built a really cool company that automates immigration, visa, and green card drafting. Fabiano Rocha, who is the CEO of a company called Jumpstart Immigration. And this is going to be a really interesting episode because Jumpstart actually started as a more of a fintech company for immigrants to help them kind of get access to financial services, to build credit in the U.S., et cetera, and was kind of also getting inquiries and requests for immigration help and advice and stuff. And so they eventually ended up pivoting slowly, but over time, away from sort of a fintech company and more towards a company that provides immigration services using AI to folks in the US. So it's a really interesting story. I think the pivot's going to be really cool to talk about, and I'm excited to have Fabiano on the show. Before we bring on Fabiano, I do want to say thank you to the main sponsor of the show, DocketWise. So for all the immigration attorneys, paralegals, in-house folks that handle cases, DocketWise is an all-in-one immigration case management platform. DocketWise provides best-in-class immigration forms, customizable questionnaires in tons of languages, industry-leading integrations, including with my company, Laborless, great customer service. And they're having a conference this year for the first time through their parent company, AffiniPay. So they're constantly growing and doing really great things for the industry. They also create a lot of great content for the industry. So DocketWise has a podcast as well. They have a blog. They have an ebook. And great content online, and so they just do a lot for the industry, including supporting things like this show, which hopefully brings value to the industry as well. So if you're at an immigration law firm or in-house and you're looking for, or at least interested in learning about another immigration case management platform, check out DocketWise. The website is www.docketwise.com, or check out the link in the show notes. So thank you to DocketWise, but also thank you to Fabiano for being here. Really appreciate it, Fabiano. And thanks for joining all the way from Brazil.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So you are are you in Rio right now?
No, we're in Brazil, in a city called João Pessoa, João Person.
Okay.
Is on the beach.
Nice.
So I came here basically during the pivot to understand better the company. Mm-hmm. And after we realized we were going to be a completely online company, I decided to live in another city, far from events and everything, just to talk to customers until we get a value proposition. And now we finally discovered a really good one. Is we want to provide green card and work visa applications with safety. So we are working on this model now with this is a kind of insurance or a refund policy. So immigrants can apply without fear, at least financially speaking. So that's the...
And it's really cool because, and we'll get to this, but it's really cool that you built an immigration tech company, but on the backbone of a fintech company. So you're actually approaching the service that you provide from a different perspective, like you said, exactly. With refunds and payment plans, but we'll get to that. So before we get to the company, I always love to start these episodes by learning a little bit more about the guest. Who are you? What's your background? What's your story? So I want to go back in time a little bit. And to talk a little bit about kind of growing up. So I know you grew up in a pretty small city. I mean, city nonetheless, but you grew up in a pretty small city. And I read that you from a young age really loved math and excelled in math and did math olympiads. I'm curious. So I grew up. I was born in the Soviet Union in Ukraine. Grew up in New York, but the sort of Soviet culture, really forces math onto their kids. So I went to when my friends were hanging out on the weekend watching cartoons in the morning, I was being driven by my parents to Brooklyn to go to math school with like these really strict Russian guys that were telling us to learn stuff that was years ahead, which was great because I did very well in math for a very long time. From your perspective, was this a natural, talent or interest that you had, or was this sort of, put upon you by your parents to say, look, you need to learn math, and then you started to like it through that?
No, actually, I was born in a really poor place in a shackle without electricity and water. I have more three brothers. I'm the third one of four. And basically what happened is everything that was different from my home, I thought it was nice. So I like to study since I was a kid. My parents don't know how to read well, basically. And I'm the first person to go to university to study. Then I push my brother, the fourth in line, and now he went to a good university also. But basically, I think it was a mix of curiosity. Everything beyond my house, it was special. It was nice. So that's why I also go. I like to travel. I like to know new places because for at least 10 years, I live in this place really far from everything. And we received water and electricity when I was 6 or 7, something like that. And then the city started to grow around the place we live, and I have more contacts with things. And for me, everything that was new, it was amazing. I really like to understand and I still have this. So I'm a mix of a data scientist with a lawyer now. I became a lawyer. So in general, I like to learn.
So how did you come across your first, math books or something? How did that happen? Because if you're coming from a village, I guess it was a village at first that didn't have water, didn't have electricity, where did you get exposure to this stuff?
Yes, I knew I was good, at least the first of my class and all this stuff. But when I was 12, it started the first math olympiad in the whole country. And the goal was to identify talents in math. And I received a bronze medal in this Olympiad. And they sent me to university when I was 12. So during the week, I studied in a normal school. And during the weekend, I went to university to study advanced math, to compete. And I competed for more 6 years. And I won more than 15 medals in math and physics. So it was this program that helped me a lot. And now they are complete, I think, in 21 years.
Wow.
This program.
How did they find you? How did they find you as a small boy in in like a village?
Basically, they put or force every student in the country to this first assessment, and they identify the talents, and then they teach you and prepare you a little bit, and you advance for more 2 phases. And then if you qualify in the end, they give a scholarship. I receive some money. I bought my computer with with the money that the government provides. And also for some students, they even send cars to take home and send to university. It was a really special program.
That's incredible. I mean, that kind of investment from the government into education, especially into math, means that they really wanted to develop this talent in the country, because of course it means so many things. Math leads to technology, math leads to innovation, math leads to economic growth and opportunity. That's incredible. So so how did your parents feel about this? Because like you said, your parents, not very did they finish school? I mean, because
no, they didn't.
So so they didn't finish school. I'm sure, of course, they love all their children and they're probably doing their best, but they don't have all of these things to give you. And now their son is being, accepted into this program and how did they feel about it? What was the sort of the feeling in the home?
Yes, for a lot of years they didn't understand well. A lot of times, especially my dad, he told me, "Hey, you need to play soccer. You're Brazilian and all this stuff." And I only took care about math.
Yeah.
And he always tried to incentivize things like that, sports in general. And in the end, I knew I was terrible. So I was really good in math, so I stayed. And for a lot of years, they didn't understand well. And I remember one day my school put a really huge billboard in the main avenue of the city. And my father saw and said, "Hey, that's you." And he started to cry a lot. And
Wow.
he understand because I was in high school and I was approved in seven universities even before finishing high school.
Yeah.
And so my school put this billboard and he started to cry and he realized, hey, I think you are really intelligent and I know I see all your effort because at that moment I was studying I think 12 14 hours a day because I want
Wow.
to compete in math olympiads and I also want to go to ITA is the Brazilian MIT, the university that I studied, and it became a dream because basically I started to compete in math Olympiads. Everyone talk about ITA. Imagine MIT, like all the kids in the US talk about MIT, all the nerd ones at least. And this became a dream. And I remember the first test that I took from ITA, my grade was 2 out of 10 and I decided, hey, this is a challenge. So I started to study since I was kid to that.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. That's amazing. And I can definitely imagine. I mean, maybe, your dad wanted you to do the things that he knew, right? He knew sports, he knew Brazil's football culture. And it's amazing that you kind of, even as a small boy, you kind of like knew what you wanted and kept going for it. And that moment that's really powerful. So, and by the way, you had 2 older siblings, right? 2 older,
Yes,
and then 1 younger. So you have 4.
exactly.
Were your older siblings ever like, what are you doing? Why are you always studying? Let's go, do this. Let's go do that.
Yes, kind of. The first one he didn't understand, and actually he was 6 years uh, older than
Yeah.
me, and sometimes he asked me help you with the homework,
Yeah.
and he in the end was user with that and say, hey, when I'm late, I'm going to ask my little brother, and he kind of give me some books, and I was totally a kid, and I was
Yeah.
totally innocent, and he sent things like this. Hey, if you do my homework, you can keep my book.
Yeah.
But he didn't use the book anyway, to be honest.
Right.
So I was totally happy with the idea of earning a new book.
That's so funny. You're doing homework for the whole family. That's
No, just
amazing.
for the first
Just
one.
for him.
Yes.
That's awesome. So, okay. So
And the second one helped me a lot. Like we were really close.
Mhm.
And he helped me how to read, he helped me how to do math because my parents couldn't do. So my second brother helped me with that.
Amazing. That's so cool. Okay, so you finished. You went through the math Olympiads. You got accepted to ITA, which is like technical and aeronautics university, right?
Yes, it's the University of Air Force.
Yeah. So you graduated. You went to school there, and you studied, and you did a master's as well. I believe, right?
Yes,
In
in
engineering.
computer science. Yeah.
So did you do those right back to back? You finished undergraduate, your bachelor's, and you went right into the master's?
Yes, at ITA you can use your classes to the masters. So basically you have some optional courses and you can reuse that for masters.
Oh, gotcha. I see. So what was your thought process while you were at ITA studying, engineering? Did you want to become an engineer? Did you want to go into coding and software? Like, what were you thinking back then?
Yes, when I entered, I had a really severe health problem. I have colitis, and I discovered when I entered, and I stay 1 year out of school. It was I enter, stay 1 month, and say, hey, you are not able to do anything because you need to take care of your health. And 1 year after, I had cancer, in my intestine.
Wow.
So I remember uh, when I was removed from university from my doctor, I was with the feeling I wait basically 10 years to get there, and in the beginning I cannot access. So I remember I did a promise to myself, and I say I'm going to use all the resources of this university, because in the past ITA had a lot. You could learn a lot of language, for example, and I was with that in my head. But then when I enter, they remove these programs. So I was expecting to learn a lot of language, to travel, to do internships, and I did by myself. So I realized, for example, that freshmen could not take summer jobs because usually companies want the older students. So I start to organize some summer job. I knocked the doors of some companies like Budweiser helped me, AB InBev actually, Johnson Johnson, Solvay Group is a chemistry industry company. And basically I offered them, and I was totally transparent and say, hey, I want to work, basically. I know I'm totally fresh and young, but I want an opportunity. And then they create in the end, they create programs for me and my friends. And I work in large companies in the beginning of the university. So that helped me a lot, because every summer I had a basic, in summer and winter, I had an intern. So I worked for Budweiser, Johnson Johnson in this chemistry industry. And 2 years after, I had the cancer. Uh, and I decided to stop and realize what I want to do in my life, and say, hey, I knew a lot of things, but in the end, if I die now, the only thing that I did was to study math, and I want to know the world in the end. So I took the surgeries, everything that I need to do in 2 or 3 months. ITA helped me a lot because they allow me to just study and do the tests. I didn't need to go to classes and all these stuffs. They waived class for me, and this helped me. And then I decided to give a break. I went to University of Chile, and my idea was to uh, do something that I could learn a little bit about the world, and also study and follow my career. So I went to University of Chile to study math also and data science. And 1 semester after, I realized I really want to go to MIT, but the cancer stuff changed my life, and I end up in Chile. So I decided to apply for MIT. I was the only one accepted at that semester. I remember a lot of folks told me, hey, you don't have really good grades, because usually students from my university need to get 9.5, and my average was 8, and the minimum was 8. But I'm the guy that every time that I see that I surpass the minimum, I say, this is a divine sign, because I have the minimum. And then I got TOEFL, I got 90, and it was also the minimum to join MIT. And I say, I'm doing really well, because I'm getting the minimum of everything that I need.
Yeah.
And I told the whole story, and they accepted me.
Amazing.
And
That's amazing.
yes. And what changed at that moment that is related to Jumpstart is I was supposed to receive a scholarship from the Brazilian government, but the president was impeached, and Brazil started a financial crisis. And then they canceled all the scholarships. And 1 month before my flight, MIT told, hey, you can come, but you need to pay 40K. And basically you have 4 weeks to pay if you want to stay in the program.
Wow.
And in the beginning, I just cried for like 2 or 3 days. And then a friend told me, hey, you always say that you cannot cry if you didn't try. So try first, cry after. And then,
like
yes, he used that against me. And basically, I start to fundraise the money. I did some crowdfunding. I went to newspaper. My mom also gave some interview. My parents, my brothers also helped me. My family, friends from university. And in the end, in the basic last week, I was able to get to the $40K. That's really a lot in at least in 1 month for Brazilian.
Yeah.
And when I was almost paying, MIT told, hey, we cannot accept your money because this money should be in our bank account, aging, and we want to see the tax file from your parents. You cannot just deposit a lot of money from different transactions and use that as a proof of funds for immigration purpose. And I was really, really mad because that was the feeling that, hey, you need to study a lot, you need to be approved. I had cancer. I was doing this at maximum of my life. I really was. And I also took a lot of online courses to prove that I was able to understand MIT courses. And I also got the SAT, and I got 800 out of 800 for math, physics, and chemistry. So I really put a lot of energy in this application. And then they told, sorry, we cannot accept you because you have the money, but you cannot pay. And I was devastated with the feeling. And in the end, I tried to call them a lot of times and told, hey, there's a way. You need to find a sponsor, but this sponsor must be someone from your family. And I say, I don't have anyone from my family with money, basically. And the person told me, hey, try to investigate. Sometimes we have someone rich in our family. And I say, what? No
That's
way.
ridiculous.
Exactly. And I had this feeling and say, I refuse to lose MIT because of that. So I'm going to do that, but I will remember. And that's my feeling with being an immigrant, that like you always need to give a lot of extra steps to be in a normal position. That's something that if I was approved, I had the money, I should be able to pay. So in the end, I look after a lot of the rich guys randomly, trying to find some help. And luckily, a guy from Budweiser helped me.
In Brazil.
Exactly. He told me, hey, I can be your sponsor. I like you. I believe in your story and I can be your sponsor. And then he signed. And for this person is something really serious because he's also responsible financially for any health problem that you may have. And US system is famous to be really expensive in case of accidents. And I remember he told me, hey, I'm going to sign, but your job is to be safe. So don't practice any sports. Don't fall in the snow. Just be safe. Yes. And then this guy helped me to.
Wow. And this was not a family member of yours. This is somebody you knew from Budweiser.
Exactly. He became a mentor in the end, but it was someone that wanted to help.
That's incredible.
And I was totally desperate to be honest.
And you know, you had the money, so it's not like he had to pay. So you gave him the money. He was the person who said, you know, had a bank account and everything.
Yes, but try to imagine also a random kid arriving and say, hey, can you sign a lot of papers being responsible for my financials? In the end, he helped a lot. We talk until today, and he helped me, I think, in my entire career.
That's amazing. I like that. I really love that. I mean, there's so much about that story that I really love, but I think the drive to keep asking, keep trying different paths, you know, not saying no for an answer and trying to figure out, okay, what's a different way I can approach this to get the goal that I was looking for, you know, is great.
And to be honest, it was one of the best things that I did in my life because MIT was amazing. I was able to do an internship at United Nations for immigrants in Africa. We are targeting supply chain of fuel and food for immigrants in Africa. They had this program, and I did this internship as a part of my supply chain classes. I also, and MIT is amazing. You have the Microsoft just in the corner of the MIT. you have Goldman Sachs also, IBM. You have basically a lot of big companies. I remember we saw the launch of the iPhone 8 before everyone, because my professor had access to Apple C-level, and they want to launch and at least show to MIT students first. So it was really amazing. And of course, I understand more about startups. And then when I returned to Brazil, I pivot my career. I stop doing internship in large companies and doing just in startups.
Mm-hmm. So you spent a semester in MIT. Afterwards, you returned to Brazil to finish your studies at ITA, right?
Exactly.
So after you finished that, what was the goal? Was the goal that, did you have a job lined up? I mean, it sounds like you're the first person in your family, in your immediate family, to like have these incredible opportunities, right?
Yes.
What was the conversation? What was the goal in that time in terms of the rest of your life, quote unquote, or your career?
Yes, I knew that I want to open my business. So it was really clear after I saw some startups in the US and how they were doing, because I didn't have any contact. So my goal was basically to visit. I would say visit because I didn't spend a lot of time in any of this company, just to understand how they operate. So usually I stay 1 or 2 years in a couple of companies. I did this as an intern. I also went to a e-commerce company called Vitex. They hire me to do partnership with universities and hire students. And I use that, and I work for human resources because I would like to complement my graduation, because I knew in terms of technical skills I would be great, but I also would like to learn more soft skills, how manage people. So I spent some years in human resource.
And eventually, looking at your LinkedIn profile, you did eventually start a company in 2019.
Exactly. After graduation and the master's, basically, I spent more 3 years working for some fintechs, all of them of the social impact. I work for a bank for schools, a bank for universities, and then educational loan provider. And I switched to data, to be honest, and from human resource and operations to data. And 3 years after I married and I decided to go to Canada with my husband. And when we visit Canada, we weren't able to rent apartment, because a lot of people told me, hey, there are a lot of immigrants. Basically, we don't know where are you from, if you can trust you or not. So if you want to rent with us, basically you need to pay a whole year in terms of rent. And that was
because they like don't trust you and don't know you, and
exactly. And I tried to talk with other immigrants, and basically everyone told me, hey, this is like this: when you went to a new country, you reset your life. And I remember a lot of folks telling me that hey, you're going to reset your life, you're going to reborn. And I was always thinking, I don't want to reset anything in my life. I was born in a place without water and electricity. Reset is not good at all.
You want to move forward, you want to move
Exactly,
ahead.
because for me, I think everyone that immigrates thinks that immigration is upgrading our life, at least should be something better. I think you restart is part of the plan, but if you restart everything, it's so really difficult.
Yes.
So with this feeling, basically, and I realize a lot of the immigrants suffer to rent apartments, we started to draft the idea of Jumpstart. The idea was to be a consigner for rental in general. And the idea was to provide credit based on the immigrant CV. So transform the CV, the profile, into credit. That's the initial idea of the company.
Wow.
And then and then we map everything that an immigrant needs, and we realize, hey, they need initially a lawyer or a green card or a work visa application. Then they need to rent an apartment, buy a car, and buy a house. And that became our goal, to cover all these stuffs. And then we switched to basically loans for green cards last year, and helping them access financial legal services.
So just one clarifying question. You mentioned that you had this experience in Canada, or was this experience in the US as well?
Yes. And we start the company basically focus on Canada.
First, I see. Okay.
Yes. And then we realized the market was better in the US. And also what happened is I realized I could not live without the sun. And California was so much better. And in Canada, in Toronto, basically, we were totally isolated. And in California, we met a lot of Brazilians, Indian guys, and we started to do friends. So we switched, me and the company, to California. And this was on September of 2023. And Jacqueline started in January of 24, and she was living in California already.
Awesome. So, and Jacqueline, by the way, is your original co-founder for Jumpstart. Before we, because I want to talk a little bit about her and bring her, talk about her story and how you guys met, and then I want to talk about this pivot that ended up happening recently. Before we do that, I just want to take a quick pause and say thank you to the second sponsor of the show, which is CaseBlink. So CaseBlink is an AI platform that also transforming immigration practice. Sort of from a different perspective. So CaseBlink was started by immigration attorneys, technologists, and an AI scientist. And it started with complex writing-heavy cases like EB-2 national interest waivers, EB-1s, O-1s, L-1s, and other similar cases that require a lot of writing. And so CaseBlink started as an AI tool that helped read, organize, and assemble documents, extract key data, and draft really long letters and legal briefs end to end. Since then, CaseBlink has launched a studio feature which enables law firms to use CaseBlink to draft in their own style and speed up case intake, improve drafts with smart tools and reusable prompts. And then most recently, CaseBlink actually rolled out a forms workflow, which helps not just these employment-based kind of green cards, but any family-based humanitarian cases, et cetera. They help and enable law firms to now use CaseBlink end-to-end to draft documents and to fill out forms and kind of be a complete case management platform. So CaseBlink is backed by great investors, well-known immigration firms, and with an immigration lawyer as a co-founder. Check them out at www.caseblink.com or use the link in the bio. So thank you to CaseBlink. Okay, so Jacqueline, she's in California. She's your co-founder at Jumpstart. But you, just to bring a little bit back, you actually met her earlier in life through like the math Olympiads, right? And I guess you guys hit it off and you had been friends since. I know she's not here right now for this episode, and so I'm not going to ask you to tell her story. But when you met up with her in California, were you already talking to her about starting a business together? Or like, how did that come up where you got to this point of becoming co-founders of Jumpstart?
Okay, I started three or 4 months before her. And I always had this feeling that you need to start and help will come. And that's what happened with MIT, and that also happened with Jumpstart. And Jacqueline realized he was not so happy where she was working. And she also always wanted to open a business. And she told, hey, you already have the idea, you already are operating the business. I think I want to join. And we had her wedding on December of 2023. And on January, she told me she would like to start. Actually, during the wedding, she told me, "Hey, I think I want to join, and I think I can work 2 days after the wedding." And she had the honeymoon, and say, "No, go to honeymoon, then we talk about." And then she returned, and she told, "Hey, everything that you tell in terms of resetting the life as immigrant, it's true because she just moved. She married." Dual citizen. Guilherme is her husband, and he is also American. And then she moved to US just some months before we start the company. And she thought everything is more difficult for immigrants because indeed you restart your life. So I like the mission, and she joined the company in January.
Now, did you have? That's a really big move for her. Also, did you have investors at the time? Did you have any revenue coming in? Like, what was she joining?
We had a dream.
Okay.
Basically, and a lot of motivation. Okay. That's it. And the idea was to find investors, of course, to do some revenue. But in the end, I was learning how to fundraise. I talked with a lot of investors. Thankfully, we had really great angels. We got the former director of the Google X, PayPal, which is Matthew Allen. He worked with credit, and he told, indeed it's true, no one is innovating in credit. And if you are able to translate the human capital, the human potential of an immigrant into credit, that's something totally new. And I want to invest on that. He is our major investor. Then we got Brian Ricarth, which is a Shark Tank from Mexico. He's also American, but he is really nice and he has operations in Latam. And he invests. And also we got really great angels also from Brazil, and they help us to raise almost $500,000.
Wow, incredible! So all through angels, you raised $500,000. This was after Jacqueline joined, right?
Exactly.
So you went through this. So the initial product was Jumpstart. For Jumpstart was a financial product, and you helped immigrants in America, in the U.S., get access to loans and to capital, and basically, number one, have access to financing, but also number two, start to build their credit in a way that they couldn't do with traditional banks, right?
Yes, we didn't start at this part of helping building credit. Our initial idea was, at least we always try to train our idea with Brazil and then expand. And we realized Brazilians, they had credit cards with high limits, but they could not use it. And in Brazil, is really common, you pay everything installment plan. You're going to buy a TV of $200, sometimes you'll pay over a year. That's really common in the whole Latin America, to be honest, and India and China also, which are the main locations where immigrants came from. And we realized that this was common. You had the credit, but you could not use it in the US. So basically, we built this bridge, and we allowed them to use their credit cards. We didn't take any risk. We anticipate all the transactions, we receive the money, and pay the expenses in the US.
Oh, I see.
So the idea was to reuse the credit they already have.
They already have. So their payment plan that they typically use in their home country, instead of making that payment plan with the U.S. Store or service, you pay that store full price, whatever the thing is, and then the Brazilian pays you through the payment plan.
Exactly. And just to explain a little bit about the fees, if you use your Brazilian credit card, for example, in US, you pay 10% of fee. But in Brazil, with 10%, you can split everything over a year and got an installment plan. So basically, we run all the transaction in Brazil, charging this 10%. The immigrant would pay over a year, and we pay the bill in the US.
So basically, I mean, so it was like you're giving loans effectively in that sense.
Yes, and in the end, we start giving small loans to access green card and also applications in Canada. We were doing both countries. And after a year, we realized that a lot of law firms are not so great, or, or, or at least not providing the experience that we would like to give. And we also realized something really a huge difference between the Brazilian market and the American market. Usually, law firms focus on Brazilians. They charge from 15 to 30K for a green card application. And when we saw the American lawyers, usually they charge from 10 to 15. Of course, we have the impression that the American market is more, I would say, code and standard. You have your case, you email, and usually Brazilian lawyers, they create group on WhatsApp, they answer really fast, they tailor the whole experience, and of course they charge a lot. And in the end, after realize that a lot of law firms are not so great, we decide to compete with them. And another thing that happened is we start to look for investors to provide loans at scale. And we always were blocked by the lack of a distribution channel, because the investor told, okay, I can invest, but we didn't have samples enough to provide the credit. So we realized, I think we need to give a step back and basically create a community of immigrants serving the B2C. And then with this pool, starting to provide other financial products.
So the idea is to pivot into the immigration service space and then eventually go back to or add again the financial services, basically.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this. So it's a big decision to make that kind of pivot, but also the pivot itself is substantial. You go from your, core business, which was this financing service, to providing a legal service, in a sense. Now, how were you able to do that? Because look, there are all sorts of lawyers. Of course, there are some lawyers are more responsive than others. But overall, people do their best, right?
Yes.
But there are different, let's say, client demographics who have different expectations. It sounds like you were, of course, targeting Brazilians coming into the U.S., and so there was some level of expectation of service that people are used to in Brazil from the lawyers that they were using, and you were thinking, we want to provide this service too, using technology at a lower cost, like not 15 to 30,000 is, it's quite a lot of money. That's a great idea. How do you go from that idea to executing? Because you now have to have a legal, professional working at your business. So how did you do that? How do you handle the legal aspect of it today?
Okay, just to explain a little bit how we switch. Basically, it was organic because we would like to create more revenue, and we have 32 law firms as partners, and we start to provide other offerings to them, like AI to draft the petition, loans for green card applications, basically everything. And in the end, they told, hey, we need leads. Everyone wants to sell more. And if we're able to do that, we can pay basically more. And for payment transactions, we would earn 2 or 3%. Providing leads, sourcing clients to them, they would pay from 10 to 20%. So that changed a lot. And we start to provide, and we realize sometimes they lose the clients, and the client was not so happy. And that create a feeling that we could not depending of anyone, to be honest. And so, and also if we internalize everything, we would have 100%, not just a commission. And so this is a first part of the switch. The second component was we realized the market is too crowded. Basically, it's a red ocean in terms of lawyers, and you have a lot of immigration lawyers. So my idea was we need to create something that sell really easy, and we need to be above all the expectations. So we start to interview a lot of immigrants, and they told, hey, all the lawyers sounds the same. I don't know if I can trust them or not, because basically after they get my case, I don't know if I'm going to be approved or not. And usually in the sales moment, they always say your CV is amazing. So there's a conflict of interest. And we realized that. We realized it was really expensive also. So we start to do some tests. And in the end, we come up with this idea. If we could predict the outcome and provide insurance, a refund policy that would let people more comfortable to signing with us. And in the end, it was the best option that we could offer. And immigrants are choosing us now because of this, because they know at least they are not going to lose money. And of course, everyone cared about if they are going to be approved or not.
Of course.
Not just a matter of refund.
Right.
So we also need to create a system. And for that, basically we realize, hey, there are a lot of immigration lawyers. So if we hire one internally, it doesn't matter if this person is really good. There are a lot out there. So that's not the thing that's going to make the difference. What's going to be the difference is the ability to predict the outcome and make sure that the petition is amazing, that is totally great and is going to be approved. So basically, we start to create a model more to review and not to just assemble or just to tailor the experience, but to review and make sure that everything is okay. And now we kind of have a sandwich in our operation. Basically, we have the AI that assemble and tailor everything and create a draft. Then we have some reviews of paralegals. Then we have an extra layer of AI reviewing with our proprietary model. I can explain a little bit later. And then the lawyer gives the final touch and sign and represent you. So this saves a lot of time for lawyers also, our partner lawyers, because they know that we review everything, and over time they give you a lot of feedback, and we incorporate that in our AI. So the system is always improving, and we start with a 50% refund policy. For 01, we are able to provide 100% now refund policy.
Wow. Yeah, so talk a little bit about the AI model.
Oh, perfect. What we do that's really different from other firms is we have this belief that the greatest lawyer, immigration lawyer, is not that graduate from Harvard or a specific university, but the lawyer with more experience. And we saw this a lot with law firms focused on Brazilians and Latinos, because sometimes some law firms just accept the straightforward case and they don't accept a difficult, tough case. And we saw that's different in the Brazilian and Latino market because they want more leads, so they try different approaches. And so we like this behavior of exploring and pushing the limits, basically. And to do that, what we do to improve the model is we buy petitions from approved and denied case. Basically, we talk with a lot of immigrants when they already have a petition. We ask them if they can sell, and we incorporate that in our model. Of course, we also use all the US CIS guidelines, top lawyers guidelines, but I think we also, with this approach, we also learn a lot, and we are able to fine-tune our model. So we are always incorporate petitions from other clients.
So you buy petitions just to get the data to understand how they approved, and those petitions are not your clients.
No, usually they have the petition, and we ask them if they can sell, or we give a discount for our green card applications.
And this is from an individual or from another attorney?
No, from an individual.
Individual, right? Because it's their, I mean, it's their privacy, it's their data.
Exactly.
So they basically, that's fascinating. So they basically, basically allow your model to learn from their case to make your model better that way, and then they use that model for the green card application in a sense.
Exactly. Well, and this helps us to understand some cases, especially, for example, for membership in the O1. There are a lot of discussion, for example, if Y Combinator is accepted or not as membership. Mm-hmm. And we realize in some petitions they accept, in most of them they are not. And this happened with the other kind of accelerators. So this helps us to understand, okay, for this criteria, it's not guaranteed that USCIS is going to accept. Mm-hmm. And we can be totally transparent mm-hmm. with the client based on data.
That's a really interesting approach, very unique. How do you find these people to effectively sell you their cases?
We are always trying to sell, and sometimes the clients, the immigrants, they say, hey, I already have a one, and we say, we also buy approved or denied petitions. So
wow.
It's a customer or is an input.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. That's fascinating. So what's the, as we're coming up on, time here, just to wrap up with a last couple of questions, what's your vision for the future of the company? I know you said you're building out this immigration service right now. You have this like multi-layer process with the AI and paralegals, and then a final review by the attorney. And that attorney, by the way, signs a G28, and they're representing the individual. And that attorney is not a Jumpstart attorney, right? I mean, I assume that there's
a partner.
Yeah, it's a partner. Yeah. So that's that. You're now starting to bring back some aspects of the original Jumpstart, i.e., some of the financial aspects of it. You already have the money back guarantee, which is kind of a financial service, yes. And then you also have payment plans, as far as I understand.
Exactly, installment plans.
What else are you thinking about, as you continue to grow and move forward in terms of expanding Jumpstart? What other products or services are you looking at?
Yes, we want to improve our model to provide 100% guarantee for all visas. For now, it's just O1, but I think in 6 months we can do 6 months or 1 year for all type of visas that we work with, which is O1, E2, L1, EB1, and EB2, national interest, basically. So we reduced the scope to serve well in the B2B recently. And then when we got 100 or 200 clients a month, which is a lot, we intend to include other services. We already have some partners to provide open a business in the US, accounting in the US. We also have a tax lawyer to plan your assets. If you have some millions of dollars, you need to calculate that before becoming an American. Sometimes you need also health insurance and all this stuff that for now we just recommend some partners that we have. Mm-hmm. We need to understand what are the main concerns of immigrants and create a second product we believe is going to be a cosigner as a service for rental.
Which is kind of your original plan, right? So
Exactly.
It's like going back to the beginning, but now you've built something as a strong foundation. And so right now, who's your target audience? Who do you want to learn about Jumpstart? Is it individuals who need U.S. immigration? Are you looking for more partners of some sort, whether they're lawyers or these other companies? Like, who are you trying to get in front of today?
It's more individuals in general. We are targeting founders of startups, executives, also, and high skill immigrants in tech, basically. It's more individuals.
Interesting. And so if they're looking for, basically legal representation for O1s, EB1s, EB2 and IWs, etc., check out Jumpstart. Exactly. And see if that could be an option for you. Or if you want to sell your old cases, I guess, right?
Yes. If you want to give some intel. Yes. Yeah. And that's really good because we have some nice case that sometimes a client decide to sign with another office, and we are totally open with that because we are learning, we want to help, and I don't know if we can help, we're going to help. And there were at least 2 clients that signed with different law firms, and they told, hey, they have different views about what's going to be approved or not. And I say, I know, because the market believe that, we have data showing that, and that's part of the secret of Jumpstart. And in the end, they ask us if we could review, and they pay us to help the other. And we help you with this insight, with this input, and the client was approved. And with 3 criteria in the O1 petition.
And so this is so you basically, so they still worked with the other law firm, but they came back to you to give a second opinion by
no, it was the client that look after us. The client already have a law firm, but they told, hey, I'm not, I would like a second opinion.
Yeah, second opinion.
And they pay us to review and help with insights.
I see. Yeah, that's interesting. So it's almost like a partial service in that sense.
Yes, we did to learn basically, and also to help. It's not a firm, but basically we realized there are a lot of details that sometimes you need to fine tune. For example, for pilots, we know that usually USCIS accept, but there are periods in time that they don't need too much, and they start to reject AB2 applications. So there's some seasonality in some applications also.
And then so then you have to look at what's the current environment, what are the current needs.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes there are some experts, for example, in logistics, they have a above average profile, but it's not totally amazing. It's not a AB1, it's a O1. And they want to understand if the qualifications match or not. And with similar cases, you can look at another person with a profile not so strong and say, hey, indeed you have chance because we have some similar cases here. Sometimes we don't have in our database, but this pushes us to understand in the detail and find immigrants with a similar profile.
Interesting. So other than the legal services, you can also provide effectively a second pair of eyes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, this has been really exciting, and I mean, your story is inspiring and really motivating. And I hope that, folks who are listening, take away a couple of things, not just from what you've done with Jumpstart, but just in your life, pushing through challenges and like getting no one way or the other. So I really love that. The question I have for you, the last question, is a question I'd like to ask. what is, a lot of times people say, what is some advice that you would give to your younger self or to somebody else out there? I like to ask a different version of this question. I like to ask, what advice are you listening to now? Like, what advice is relevant to you right now that is on your mind, that you're thinking about, and you're making decisions based on this advice today?
Yes, I think in the end, my secret is faith. Like in the end, sometimes we have some scary moments, especially because you are spending money, you are not creating revenue, and you think, hey, this is not going to work. But in the end, you know that the problem is big. You know you are smart and you work a lot. So it's a matter of time. You find a way to put things together. Mm-hmm. And I think we just switched to this phase that we are more comfortable with revenue, we break even. Soon we're going to raise a seed round because I think we already have the metrics. We want to build a better platform. And in the end, I try to look back and say what I did that helped me a lot in the past that I can do now. And I think the common is always about faith, that you are not sure about anything, but you need to believe that help will come. And I think this happened my whole life for sure with more than 1,000 people donating money to go to MIT, with a rich guy looking to say, hey, I'm basically the only option that you have. I want to help you. And same after for angels. And now, even with partners, sometimes the people say, hey, I like you, I like your story, I like our company, and I want to help. And I think that what drives that is faith. Basically, you need to do your job and believe that help you will come. And indeed, it's come. And if it didn't come, of course, it's not always to come, but at least you try your best, and you did what you have in our control.
You try before you cry.
Exactly, that's important.
I love that. I'm going to take that one with me. Fabiano, thank you so much. This is a great conversation, really great story. I wish you guys the best with Jumpstart. It's very exciting what you're doing, and definitely some creative aspects here that I haven't seen before. And so will be fun to follow the growth and the, forward movement of the company. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your story. By the way, people can visit you, connect with you on LinkedIn, of course, but the company is jumpstartimmigration.com.
Exactly.
Cool. So jumpstartimmigration.com, check it out. Yeah, thank you, Fabiano. I really appreciate your time here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wow, what an amazing story, an amazing conversation, really inspiring, and so, motivating to think about how to, face challenges and get through them. And as Fabiano said, have faith that things will work out. So that was really awesome. Just want to say a huge thank you to DocketWise for making this show possible. I'll mention again that, for any immigration folks out there, lawyers, paralegals, in-house staff, if you are interested in learning about or are in the market for an immigration case management system, check out DocketWise. They are an all-in-one case management platform with best-in-class immigration forms, customizable questionnaires in a lot of different languages, industry-leading integrations, amazing customer service. They have a ton of content as well. Their blogs are really, really great. Their podcast is great. So you can do everything from learn about different business aspects or marketing aspects for your immigration law firm to keeping up to date with some immigration policy changes through their blog and podcasts and other content. So check them out, www.docketwise.com, or click the link in the show notes. Thank you again to them. Thank you, everybody, for being here, for watching. I hope this was a really fascinating conversation for you, because it certainly was for me. So in the meantime, I wish everybody a wonderful weekend. Be safe, and see you next week for another episode of the GMI Rocket Show. So thanks all. Peace out.